Hello, everybody. English Without Borders is very happy to continue English Without Borders Thursday webinar series. And today we are going to host Nozukmo Rustambekova, who will talk about reflective writing. And just to mention, so far you know that we have all the English Without Borders followers have now an opportunity to get an A certificate by attending all 7 Thursday webinars starting from July 15, including August 26, and taking the online quiz and at least getting 2 correct answers. So the link to the quiz will be provided at the end of each webinar and will be open until Monday 5 p.m. So, my greetings to you, Nozukmo, and I would like to introduce you to our audience. Nozukmo Rustambekova graduated from the Khorog State University and received her bachelor's degree in English language teaching. She earned her master's degree in education in teaching, majoring in English language and social studies from the Aga Khan University Institute for Educational Development in 2006, Karachi, Pakistan. She also participated and successfully completed a junior faculty development program at Wayne State College, Nebraska, USA, on a full scholarship and earned a certificate in 2013. In addition, she completed a postgraduate certificate in higher education training conducted by University of Cambridge Faculty of Education at the University of Central Asia in 2020. Welcome, Nozukmo. So I'm really happy to see you, and we are all excited to you and also to participate in your webinar. And the floor will be yours. And after your presentation, dear participants, please put your questions in the chat box or in the comment box via Facebook. So we'll be passing them over to our speaker. Welcome, Nozukmo. Now the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Okay, good afternoon, Asibai, and all the participants. Can you hear me? Can you see the screen? Good evening. Nasiba, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but your screen is not visible yet. Yeah, please try to do a share screen.
Share screen. Share screen. Okay, just so let me share the screen.
Yeah.
But I shared my screen, right? I did share the screen. Can you see the screen?
Yeah. Not yet, not yet. Try one more time, yes.
Okay, just a moment. Okay, so can you see it now?
Yeah, yes, we can see it. Great.
Okay, so a very good evening to all the participants, to all the Zoom participants. I'm very happy to see all of you here, and I do hope that you are going to take something useful from this session. So the session is going to be about reflective writing. My purpose of why I took this topic is because I have been teaching it for quite a long time. I mean, for 4 years. To some of our students, which we are preparing for their master degree to London. So this is one of the very important modules. So therefore, I wanted to share with you my knowledge and my experience so that you can also share your knowledge and experience on this. So before I start, I would like to know, can you please write down on the chat, what do you think reflective writing is? Okay, so I can see maybe writing about what you read, when you practice something after learning, maybe you teach writing and also learn as well. Okay, very interesting answer. So let me see above, maybe you have something else. So these are the only answers. Personal reflection in written form. Okay. Okay, anything else? Anybody else would like to write something on this? Reflecting on something, on your own experience, to write your opinion. Okay, so thank you very much for your writing. Let's continue. So first of all, I would like to share with you the workshop outline. What is reflection? Because before going into the reflective writing, I would like to say what reflection is itself, and because that is the main umbrella. And then you go into the reflective writing, and then what reflective writing is not. Why should we reflect? The structure of reflective writing, types of reflective writing, language, and reflective writing in education, and how to write a reflective response to a text or to an academic article. So what is reflection? So here it is saying that it is actually consciously looking at and thinking about your experiences, your feelings, and then not only thinking about them, but actually interpreting and analyzing them and learn from them. That's the main thing, yes? It is a systematic reviewing process for all teachers. It's not that you do it today and you don't do it tomorrow. So this is a systematic way if you want to improve your learning in your studying process. It also allows you to make links from one experience to the next. For example, whatever happened before, for example, what I should improve. If something did not happen, for example, well in my class, what I can do after that so that I can improve. So there is an action plan as well. So it is not only thinking, reflection is actually more than thinking. So you deeply think about your learning process, and then that is something that you find and something that you really want to work on. It is the authors and the professors and the researchers are saying that this is a basic part of teaching and learning process. Now let's look at the reflective writing. So when we are writing reflectively, we are actually analyzing and examining a certain event, memory, or observation. Reflective writing is also, we use it in academic setting, and I will bring you my own example from my teaching. And here you are actually examining a response to a reading, any writing, or any new experience or information. It can also be a response to your thoughts or your feelings, which is called personal reflection. So the next is, so we are providing an opportunity to gain further insights from your work or studies. And it is also a way of exploring more about your learning process. And of course, for example, when you're exploring more about yourself and about your learning process, it means that you are gaining more self-awareness. So there are a lot of cases that students, and I don't know, so let's talk about the students only. Students are actually confusing it, and they think that when you ask them to reflect, they actually write a pure description, which is not. So reflective writing is actually not simple problem solving. It's not that you write your reflection on some kind of issue and your problem is going to be solved. No, that's not the case. So you have to take also an action on that. It is not conveying the information or any instruction or an argument. That is not a reflection, a reflective writing. And it is also not a standard university essay. It is not the act of talking to the people whom you meet. It is not meeting with your team, with your supervisor, or talking about your day. That is not a reflective writing. So just a moment. So the other question is that, for example, students, and we also ask ourselves, but why should we reflect? Yes. So why should we reflect? Actually, this is gaining control over your own thoughts, because when you reflect, you know that what are you doing, why you are doing it, for example, what students are thinking about your class. So you reflect because there is no chance that you are going to be observed every day, right? people do not have time. So if you are reflecting, you are actually, you gain control of your own thoughts and your own emotions, and you are controlling your classroom yourself. This is, as we said above, this is developing deeper insights. And then when you are developing deeper insights, you actually make more informed judgments about whether something was bad or something was good, if we are talking about the teaching practice. This is monitoring your own performance, because if you are writing a reflection on your classroom, you are actually monitoring it. Oh, this classroom was not good, so let me do something else. So this is a monitoring with your own self. So this is not only gauging your progress, but also the speed of your change, the way you change as a teacher, the way you change as a professional, as an educator, or even as a student if you are writing a reflection. This is tapping into the true motivations of doing something, because if you do have commitment to change something and you are writing and you are seeing that there is a change, so then that is a kind of also true motivation. This is also developing a realistic image of yourself, so that when you are talking about, for example, your negative and positive points, then you realistically see yourself as a teacher and as a professional. Okay, just a moment. So here, dear participants, I have a question for you. As we know that any academic writing actually has structure. So I would like you to please, can you please write in a chat, what kind of structure does the reflective writing has? Can you write some thoughts, please? So it's one introduction, 1-2 paragraphs and conclusion. Introduction and body and conclusion. Anything else? Any other thoughts? So the same as an essay, maybe. It starts with description. Introduction, yes, it has an introduction. Any other continuation beside that? Ends with action plans. Excellent, very good, Donista. It has body, paragraph, right. Pre, while, and post, what does that mean? Munisa, introduction, body, and conclusion. Journaling. Is it you are talking about reflective journal, maybe? That is a type of reflective writing. Yeah, that is a type. Feeling, true. Feeling is also part of reflective writing. Okay, so thank you very much. Now let me share the screen with you, the slide. Okay, so the structure of reflective writing is actually, we start with the introduction. So let me make it more clear here is that doesn't matter whether you are writing a personal reflection or a professional reflection, it starts always with the introduction of the topic. It starts with the description. In the description, these questions are very important. For example, when we are talking about the description, it can be anything, but here we have got certain questions. For example, what happened? Why? What are you going to reflect on? Here we have to take a specific point. We cannot reflect on everything. Even if you had a very long classroom of 1 hour and 40 minutes, so you reflect on a certain point, or if you want to reflect on the whole class, still you have got some points, some specific points to reflect on. Then as also it was written in the chat that is interpretation or the feeling. For example, what were your own reactions and feelings towards that reading, or your own reactions and feelings towards that teaching or observations or any event. So after that, we have evaluation. Evaluation, we know that this is something talking about the positive and the negative sides. Then when we come to the analysis part is actually talking about the why and how questions. What sense can you make of the certain situation or event? Then, of course, we come to the conclusion. Sometimes there are two different conclusions. There is a specific conclusion and there is a general conclusion. But If that is one conclusion, I think that's enough, because this is what I'm expecting from my students. And then, as it is also mentioned in the chat, so that has an action plan. For example, if this certain situation has happened, what are you going to do differently in this type of situation next time? As you mentioned before, so somebody mentioned actually reflective journal in the chat. So this is, as I said, types of reflective writing. So there are different types, the very specific which people are doing and which people are writing and using in the academic setting. So this is a reflective response to an academic article. I would like to bring my own example from the classroom later on. Then if there is any critical incident, and let me say that it can be in the healthcare, for example, medical people can also reflect, social sciences and teaching in general. Reflective journal and reflective diary. This is something very personal. You only reflect, for example, on yourself and on your daily progress as a teacher or as a person in general. Reflective, another task, which is reflective report. And if teachers are asking you to do that, that has a structure. The structure is the same, but then the criteria will depend actually on the teacher. If you want to reflect and demonstrate your professional attributes as a teacher, that is also academic reflection. Then there is a case studies. For example, you want to reflect on a certain classroom or certain groups of students. Then portfolios. When we come to the portfolios are actually in many educational settings. They are kept, and sometimes in portfolios there are many things. But when we are talking about the portfolios of reflective writing, then you should have different reflective writing, taking the types of reflective writing, and you put them in your portfolios, depending on what the task was. Then, as in any usual academic writing, reflective writing also has its own language. Here I have written some for you. For example, I remember a time or an instance when, and then you continue your thoughts. When I look back on something, there are many ways I could have done it differently, let's say. I often wonder, for example, why my students are coming late to my classroom, or why they are not responding to my questions. What would have happened if I had, for example, a different, let's say, job? I am aware that, for example, I am speaking fast or something like that. One thing I would do differently is, and if I took a different approach such as, so these are some types, and there are a lot of language, I mean, you can use for reflective writing. Some of them are different when you are writing a personal reflections, and some of them are different when you are actually writing your professional reflection. When I'm saying professional, I mean a response to an academic text. So reflective writing in education. Here I would like to bring my own classroom. So I'm teaching two modules, which is one is subject-specific reading. So we are actually dealing with academic articles. We are reading academic articles in education, talking about curriculum development, talking about assessment, talking about teaching and learning process and methodology in general. And we are also reading the articles which are based on different social issues around the world. So what we are doing, we are coming to so the articles are given to the students, they read them at home. There are sometimes 9 pages, it can be 3 pages or 13 pages. They read them at home, and based on the articles, I actually choose the tips and the strategies how to deal with that, how to discuss that. Sometimes I choose a debate, because if it is a social issues, we do it through the debate. Sometimes we have a panel discussion, we have a group work, we have a teamwork or a pair work. So we have a discussion, we thoroughly discuss the article so that we understand it from the different perspective. Then when they come to my developing reflective practice classroom, they are actually following the structure, and now they would like either they reflect on the whole article, or they take a certain point from the article and then they reflect on that. For me, the main thing as a teacher, for example, what I'm going to look at is a marker. So first of all, I'm going to look at the structure that we have talked about before. That is important. Then the second thing for me is that within their structure, I will see that they had to refer back to the article, because it is not It is not their own reflection. It is a reflection on a theoretical perspective. So I will see that how did they refer back to the article? I mean, did they take any phrases from the article on which they want to reflect? They need to write the sources as well, but within the reflection, we don't need any references for that. I mean, it does not require that. Then I will see that if they are making any connection to the world, for example, if they have read any articles on that, any other articles, if they have seen any other films, for example, if they have seen any experiences on that, they have to bring that together. And then they make any judgments on that, but the judgments should be realistic. I mean, taking the phrases, the quotations from the article and bringing their own examples. So when they are, so in the middle part, which is interpretations and analysis and evaluation, they are mainly talking about the article, please, plus bringing their own perspective. But when they are coming to the actions, plans, and conclusion, then it is their own conclusion and action plan. So this is actually, I summarized whatever is reflective writing in education, because this is what I'm doing in my classroom. We are reflecting on a theoretical perspective at the moment. Yes, so this is how we are going to reflect, I mean, how to write a reflective response to a text. This is what I already talked about. They are also, if they find another literature plus which they have read, that is also very good. But the main important thing is that they are only not talking about the article, or they are not only bringing their own thoughts, they are actually going to mix them. That is the important thing. And then, so the conclusion is that, so when it is not sufficient to have an experience in order to learn, without reflecting on this experience, it may quickly be forgotten, or its learning potential is lost. Very much said the next. So this is actually the conclusion of the reflection of what we have talked about. Now Nasiba, do I have time?
Yes, sure. Yeah, please go ahead with your presentation, or if you want to do some exercises, you can continue.
Yeah, so dear Zoom participants, now may I please ask you to just maybe have or write a 5-minute reflection on anything. I'm not going to give you any topic. Can you please write a 5-minute reflection? It can be anything. It can be your teaching, it can be your personal, but just go back to the, I will go back to the structure part. And if you follow the structure, that will also be very good. So this is the structure. So within your 5-minute reflection, I mean, the grammar, vocabulary, that is not going to be checked. I'm not going to check that. If you are giving it even to the students, the task is not to check the vocabulary and grammar. The task is actually to look at the content. So can we do it now? Just maybe 5-6 minutes.
Yeah, yes, we can do that. And maybe just, for the audience, it would be good if you say, so how many sentences they should at least write.
The 7 sentences will be enough. For example, 1 introductory sentence, yes, 1 sentence for description, 1 interpretation, 1 evaluation, analysis, conclusion, and at last, there will be an action plan. Or for the first time, I'll give them 10 minutes because we do have time. 7 sentences. Yes.
Yeah,
thank you.
All right, thank you. Madina, if you have a question, you can write it in the chat box. Nozukmo will respond to that if you need any clarification as well. Yeah, the participants, unfortunately, yeah, we have to mute everybody because to avoid extra noises and not to distract everybody. So therefore, you can put your questions in the chat box. Nozukmo will respond to that. And Nozukmo, somebody is writing, is reflective writing about something you don't pay attention to the grammar? You just write whatever you know about the topic. Is it so?
Nasiba, can you hear me now?
Yes, now, yes.
But why I can't see the question?
Oh, it's in the chat box. And Miso, can you see? Because Miso usually forwarding the questions from Facebook here into the Zoom chat box. Munisa, she's asking.
And I'm writing
Facebook.
about something that you don't pay attention to. The grammar, just write whatever you know about the topic. Yeah, I mean that when you give students 5 minutes reflection, 5 minutes reflection is just giving students a chance, for example, to share their ideas and their opinions. It's just a flow of writing. So that's why in the 5 minutes reflection, this is what you ask students, for example, to write in your writing classes when you enter the classroom. So when you're asking them a 5 minute reflection, in that case, you don't pay attention to the grammar vocabulary. But in general, let me tell you, when students are writing a reflection to an academic text, these are the students who have already gone through all the process of the academic writing. So therefore, the job of the teacher of the reflective writing is not to check the grammar and vocabulary. I do pay attention what academic vocabulary they use, but I don't change, and I actually do not look at their mistakes, because if I start looking at their mistakes, then they start losing the ideas. This is what I learned from my experience. But in the 5 minutes reflection, no, you never check grammar, vocabulary. You just pay attention to the main idea, to the content, if you check it. Teaching writing itself is not, I think itself is not easy. The last 2 months I have been conducting this class at the time, work class and preparation and paragraph checking, although it was hard. chat.
So dear participants, we have a couple of more minutes. Please complete your writing and let us see your reflective writing. Thank you. Natalia, hello. Yes, we understand that you joined late. So the task was to write down based on some instruction which you can see on the screen. Write down a piece of writing, a piece of reflective writing. Yeah, without paying attention to grammar or orthography mistakes, just to try to practice reflective writing during this webinar.
To conclusion that I will never ever punish myself like this next time. They will take only one writing group.
Nozukmo, let's start, yeah, because I think that the people will be posting their writings soon.
Okay, can you?
Yeah.
Okay. So Nasiba, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I would like to ask another question from the participants. Is it fine?
Sure.
Okay, so when I'm reading, I actually have read some reflections here, maybe about 4 or 5, which are also very interesting. Within this, sorry for any spelling mistakes. You are welcome and no problem with the spelling mistakes because we do not pay attention to that. So I just would like to ask the Zoom participants that, for example, when I told them to write a 10 minutes reflection, writing itself is not easy for the people of our culture because maybe it is not part of our culture. We do not do it every day. So that's become a challenge for us. So when I gave them a very short time and said that, please do write a reflection, and even did not give them a topic. So what was the challenging part for them? Because I also did not give them a thinking time. Yes, I said 10 minutes and choose a topic and reflect.
Yeah, I think sometimes, people need more time, to kind of to collect thoughts and also to organize them and also just, to put them in a structure. So, I'm really glad to see that, our audience is trying to do their best, at least,
very good, yeah.
Yes, at least to write down, based on their understanding and based on their knowledge, some piece of writing, which is very good. And we can see very nice writing patterns here.
Yeah, that is very true. So I'm reading it and people are very right. Actually, they have no idea what to write about. For example, the most difficult part was how to start the writing. Yes, especially I would also, Nasiba, I would also like to say that I want to share actually the, can you please after that share with the Zoom participants the 2 samples that I have sent for their own information? One was on a personal, one was a personal reflection, and one was on a theoretical perspectives on one of the academic research article. So can you share it later on with them so that they read it and then they can actually form their own personal reflection, I mean their own structure. Of course, the structure is the same, but then people are writing reflection in a different ways. They take the structure, but then they, for example, mix the interpretation comes later on and the analysis is first, and the some of the negative points are coming towards the end, which is fine because each person has his or her own writing style. But the main important thing is actually to write it and to keep up with the structure. Of course, yes, please analyze my reflection. Gulshera, I will analyze your reflection if I will have time. But Nasiba will later on, I hope she will actually share with you both of the reflections.
Yeah, if we still have time, maybe you can do the analysis of Gulshera's writing piece. Okay. Because like the participants, don't worry. Next week we are going, like early next week, we are going to post all the presentation materials and as well as just the writing, which Nozukmo shared with us. You can find them on our website under the webinar handouts. So please next week check our website for the materials. And Nozukmo, yes, you can do analyze. Yeah, okay. You can do analysis of Gulshera's writing.
So Gulshera actually started with the question, right? She said that she wrote here that why is teaching phonetics important for English? And then she said that the majority of teachers don't teach, you can actually read it, right? Don't teach phonetics adequately. They think that pronunciation should be taught through. So what I would like to say here is that, I mean, I did not require that to keep up with the structure for the first time, but for the first time, this is very good. But at least, you know, the main important thing in the reflection is that she found out an issue, what to reflect upon. Right? And then she also has, towards the end, she also has her action plan, which is, my goal is to convince my colleagues to teach phonetics and share the strategies of its teaching. That is her goal. I mean, I do not pay attention to the middle part, to the body part, that because in the body part, we had to have at least one interpretation and one analysis and one evaluation, which is fine if she doesn't have that. But I can see that she also has a good reflection, and towards the end she has an action plan. The action plan is important because if you do not have an action plan, that means that your reflection is going to be there and you are not going to act upon that. But this is what she's going to share with her colleagues and to ask them to do for her. Yes, so Gulshera, thank you very much. And that was a very good try of all the Zoom participants. Thank you very much for all of that. Any other questions? You are welcome.
Yes, such a nice, writing pieces the participants have posted. So it's just amazing reading all of them.
Natalia is actually writing that we must reflect right after the activity, I think. Of course, there are two types of reflection because we are teachers and we do not have a lot of time because we have a lot of checking and tests and all that. And I'm sure, and we do not have that 100% guarantee that we are going to write that, but there is a reflection in action and reflection on action, which I did not present because reflection in general is a very broad topic. So I paid attention only to certain parts, which I thought are very important to know for today. So reflection and action is actually, you are teaching a class and you present your topic, but when you come to the teams or to the groups of the students, you come to know that there are certain people who did not understand your instruction. That is reflection and action. Or you gave an activity which was for group work, but you gave it as a pair work. So a reflection and action, you are going to change it on the spot. You don't go and write about that, but you change it on the spot. That is reflection and action. After you come out of your classroom and write it or think about it and at least write some bullet points, that is reflection on action. So which is Natalia talking about? For the immediate action, that is immediate after doing something. For the immediate one, actually, that is reflection in action, which you have to change immediately without writing because you are already realizing that something is going wrong. So you need to change that. question. She's loading it. Oh.
Yeah, dear participants, please write your questions in the chat box, and Nozukmo will respond to them. Thank you. Nozukmo, please unmute yourself. Nozukmo, we don't hear you.
Yes.
Okay, now we can hear you.
Yes. Okay. So here is a question from Gulnoro, and so how can reflective writing be developed in primary classes? So that is a very interesting point. So I would like to say that reflective writing is actually, it can be introduced in the very early age. How? It can be introduced orally. For example, you ask a child that, for example, what are your hobbies? I mean, in more simple way, and in primary classes also, if he or she is going to tell you about his or her hobbies, then you ask a child, why do you like that? So in this case, for example, why and how do you do that, right? If you like a basketball playing, for example, why do you like that? How often do you do that? If you are going with your questions, first you can start it orally. And then, for example, simply, I mean, step by step, you can ask them writing 1 or 2 sentences each class. This is my question too. How can it be developed in primary classes? So we start from oral questions, and then we start asking them to actually do it in writing. So let me look at in other questions. How can we improve reflective writing? We actually know that any writing can be improved only through practice. That is the only way. Either it is an academic writing, or it is a reflection, or it is an IELTS writing. We know that as teachers, for sure, 100%, that if you do practice your writing, your reading, your listening and speaking skills, that is the only way, practice, and it takes time. And then there is another thing, that in the reflective, for example, the language, if your language is actually very advanced, that is also another point which will help you to improve your reflective writing. But in order to have that advanced level of language, we have to do more reading. So how can reflective writing, okay, so we have, so there are only 2 questions.
There are a couple of more,
okay.
yes, a couple of more questions. Yes, okay. Yes. If
so
you scroll down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start from the kind of beginning. How should we teach students reflective writing? Can you recommend any activities to improve reflective writing? With the students, I think the 5-minute reflective writing is the best one. First of all, in a very simple way, you should not present them like I presented that to you, but in a very simple way, you tell them what reflection is, very simple sentences. And then you start with them writing this 5 minutes reflection with the students. At maybe starting from grade 7, grade 8, they will be able to do that. Yes, and then there are tons of activities. Then once they got used to that, to the 5-minute reflections, then you start giving them topics. First, you give them, you give them a choice to choose their own topic, but then you start giving them topics of your own, which can be connected to your classroom, on which can be connected actually to them, depending on who they are. Are they teenagers, or are they, I mean, we are talking about the teenagers now, right? Because to the younger ones, as I already said, it's better to do the oral one, to start with the oral one. So the other question here is, why is it hard for students to combine their thoughts in one reflective container? Is it because of not reading more? In one reflective container, here I actually, I hope that I understood the question quite well. Is it that for them writing is difficult, Bakhti Begim? Okay, so I'm trying to respond to the question of how I understood it. I mean, I think the only way why sometimes some students do not have ideas. That's one problem. When they come into the writing, they are stuck because of not having ideas. There are students who have a lot of ideas, but they do not know how to structure the ideas and how to combine them in a very good order. That is another way. So for both of the students, we can help. For the students who have a lot of ideas, we have to give them a very good structure. For the students who do not have ideas, we have to recommend them to do more readings, right? Which is at the end of your question. How should we teach students reflective writing? Can you, okay. So we read it. Oh, I don't know. Okay. Local learners. Is it, is it a question or this is just a comment or a statement? Reflective writing should be implemented in the first language too. It is quite new kind of activity for the local learners. Of course, right. It's a comment. Okay. Yes, true. Yes, in the first language, because first language is always closer to the people, to the person. And of course, if you do reflect on that, then it's easier going to be to do in Russian and English and other foreign languages. True. To use so how is it possible to use reflection in online classes? For online classes that are actually online platforms. And then you can also, if you have, but you have to know that you are able to work with those different kind of platforms in order to use also your reflections through that. But if you do not, for example, use those platforms and just, for example, maybe use an online class, let's say a PowerPoint presentation, then you pose a question on the PowerPoint and then students reflect on that. Then you show them a sample, show them let them write their own reflection and then show them a sample.
Nozukmo, we have one question from Fakhreddin Khadirov as well. Please share with us some examples on reflection writing. What must we do to improve reflection writing of other people? As you mentioned, it's kind of an ongoing process, right? And
yeah, this is yes.
And how usually just, from your own experience, depending on the level of students, how it should be just, taught in order to improve the reflection writing of students?
I think whenever we are presenting something to the students, and as it is already here, for example, this is new to our local people, that is very true. We don't do it very often, even ourselves as teachers. Because I teach it, maybe that's why I'm a little bit inside that, but if I don't teach it, I also don't write, that is the truth. So that is, simultaneously, step by step, this is what we are doing. First, I would actually recommend, when I also do it with my grade 8 students, I started to do with them the reflective writing. But what I did is that first we started with the introduction. I gave them a topic and I said, please write only the introduction. Then if I saw that the introduction are well structured, then I moved to the description. And so far we have done only the introduction and description part. I think I do suggest that they go step by step. Unless the description is well structured, it has a good, for example, language, reflective language plus academic language. It has, it is according to your criteria, as Fakhreddin is asking, then do not move on to the next one. Once you are done with all the parts separately, then you can combine them. I hope I answered your question, Fakhreddin.
Yeah. Okay, so next question. How do you assess your students' reflective works?
Right. I actually have criteria. Mostly I go with the I go with the structure. The structure is very important for me. But then I also, because they are responding to an academic article, they do not write on the personal, they do not write personal reflections. We are only writing on the academic article. I'm looking at the academic, I'm looking at the language they have used from the, if they referred back to the article or not, if they made connections to the world, to the text and to themselves, if they brought their own experience, if they brought their own thoughts and feelings on the reflections, and if based on that, what is their own conclusion. So these are my own criterias. I mean, not my own criterias, but these are the criterias that I'm checking the reflection on a theoretical perspective. Yes, there is another question. Do you use peer? Yes, I do use it a lot, because after students knew how to check, how do I check their reflections, now they are doing it peer assessment. Because when they are doing peer assessment, then they know better how to deal with their own mistakes. That's true also. Peer assessment should be in all spheres of the language. But in the writing, it is also very, I mean, it is the core part. It is very good if they do it in the writing part as well. And we need to teach them not to be judgmental. They have to be objective, not subjective. Yes, yes, that's true. Because the more you write, the more you will have to read. And that is, yes. The common challenges of peer assessment are actually, sometimes I can see that students are, I'm telling them to be objective, but they are subjective. That is one of the common mistakes, one of the common challenges, sorry, students are making. The second challenge is that sometimes if they do not understand it themselves well, then they are not able to mark the students properly. That is the second challenge I face. And sometimes, for example, if the student is writing a proper reflection, but then they are put, if I ask them to put them a mark, then sometimes I can see that they put a very low mark. That is another challenge. So these are the three challenges I face so far.
All right, so far so good. I mean, just we got that very nice discussion. And the participants, thank you very much for your active participation, and seeing your feedback, reading your feedback, as well as your questions and your comments. It makes us really happy to see that the discussion was very interesting, and also the webinar topic was very interesting as well. So Nozukmo, thank you very much for your interesting webinar, and also just, for sharing your extensive teaching experience as well as your tips, and also just, some suggestions how to make reflective writing part of the teaching classroom activities. Yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, using this moment, I would like, yes, to thank all of the participants. And the participants, please check the chat box for the link to the quiz. We'll be sharing it in a while, in a few minutes. Yes, and also, yes, please check it. And we already, yes, already posted it on chat box and also in the comment box on Facebook. You can just quickly, right after the webinar, go and fill out, that questionnaire, and also just earn your certificate. One more, yes, please check it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Nozukmo.
Nasiba. Yes, Nasiba and Gunoro and her team. Thank you very much a lot for giving me this opportunity. I was very happy to see, to talk to all the Zoom participants, though I haven't seen them. But I do feel that they are my colleagues and they are all together with us, and we share and we learn a lot from each other. So thank you very much for the EWB to give all the teachers this opportunity.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Yeah. The participants who are watching us via Zoom and on Facebook, yeah, we are wishing you a good evening, and please follow us on EBB social media pages, and please stay alert and stay tuned on our posts